My whole idea for Lee's Manifold was, yes, like, I'm gonna maybe write these songs, but then I wanted to, because like the idea in my mind of like a manifold is like one thing that kind of consists of a lot of like various elements or a lot of like moving parts. And in my mind, like when I look at this project and myself within it, it's like I'm the one kind of unifying thing, the guy who like wrote it, I guess, but then also like so many people, like I think I had like 15 people involved in this record, and it's like 5 songs, you know what I mean? So like I really just wanted to have other people's input, like collaborate with people and create something special. Like that was like the whole idea, was to just create something organic. And you know, even if I wrote it, like things just changed so much once I had other people's input. My biggest emphasis I'd like to put on this project though is that it's not just about me writing the songs, yes, but like in terms of like the project, it's like I just wanted for people to think of it less of like as like a solo project and more of like a collaboration between a lot of different artists, but just with one person that's like kind of putting them together, you know? Like I believe in that concept too of like being a connector. Like there's people in the world that, you know, bring people together, and I like to think that I can do that or try to do that. I don't know if I ever like write something like in my head, like maybe a line will come to me if it's like a lyric or something, maybe like an idea, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds like, if I just have like a thought and I just think that sounds nice, or like I think it like would fit well with something. Usually like I like put like a lot of emphasis on like melody, so generally I'll just be strumming the guitar, or I'll just like sit down and feel like inspired by something, and that's probably happened in my life. Like I definitely like get inspired a lot by other people's energy, so sometimes if I'm in the room with like my girlfriend Paulina, or hang out with friends or something, or like another like musician or something, like just their energy alone like can inspire me to just like, okay, so now I'm gonna like try to like come up with something, and it'll just like, sometimes it'll just come out. I'll sit with it, and sometimes it comes out really easily. Sometimes certain songs I'll write the music and then I won't even have any words or anything for a long time. But sometimes like the best times are when you're just not expecting it at all, and then a full fleshed out tune just like comes out. It's like the most satisfying thing ever to just get it done in like one sitting like that. That happens. It's pretty rare, but when it does happen, it's like really exciting. You know, that's like what I like live for, is that. Anyone who cares about me now. Grew up in this like, it's really small rural town, but you know, I had an outlet to kind of be creative a lot and like use my imagination, because there wasn't really a whole lot to do. So I would kind of just, you know, my friends and I, like a big thing in like high school was to get together, hang out in my room and, you know, write songs and workshop things with people. And I had a band called Happy Birthday Dr. Jim. That was like my high school experience too, was mainly being in that band and just kind of like getting into trouble in a small town sort of. For me, most of the time songwriting or like my like writing songs just like is like a therapeutic process, or is like an autobiographical thing. Not always. I feel like sometimes there are songs that I'll write that, for example, like in some of the Strawberry Blonde songs, like those songs are all about breakups and terrible things, so I almost have to step into a role when I write those songs, you know what I mean? I have to be in a very specific down mind. I only like write those songs when I'm like really down and out, you know what I mean? But then like, for example, all the stuff on the Lee's Manifold record, you know, I wrote probably like 6 months into the relationship with my girlfriend, and you could definitely hear it. Like everyone that has heard bits of the record already knows that it sounds like I'm in love, you know? So it really comes from all different sources, but mainly from, you know, relationships with people and how I'm feeling, you know, at that current like moment, I guess. I'm sure there was musicians, you know, hypothetically speaking, like in like the 1920s that probably like played incredibly and then were never recorded ever, or like people like never had the opportunity. And even now to this day, there's still like so many talented musicians in the world that don't have the affordance to like buy gear or to do things like that. And I think like we should take advantage of that. If we have the funds, if we have the privilege to be able to do that, go ahead and do it. I just also think though, in that the beneficial thing is that we have this technology, and it's relatively like well priced, and if you have money you can afford it. That's incredible. But at the same time, in doing that, now everyone has a home studio. At the same time as it being like amazing, then you just get this oversaturation of like so many people on SoundCloud and so many people like with like similar styles or similar this, or there's just so much content that it's like hard to like I guess you just kind of like end up like getting drowned in it all sometimes. Like you get lost. Like it's not like in the days of like, you know, you put out a single and, you know, someone hears it and it's like, oh my God, this kid's got something, we're gonna put them on a record label. Like sometimes that happens, but now you have to fight a lot more for things and you have to try a lot harder and make connections, and I think everyone's kind of fighting for the same thing, so it can get competitive and it can get kind of intense and people lose sight of like what's important. Like sometimes I also think that like it's just overall like it can be just difficult to get out there and for people to hear it, because put out one single and it can be sort of like a shot in the dark. Now it's like if you don't get on like a Spotify playlist or something, like, or some kind of rotation, or if you don't get written about on a blog, like it kind of your single or your record or something can kind of just fall flat on its face.
You're loud, you're old enough.
But I try not to let it bog me down, like, oh God, if I don't, you know, make it by 23, it's all over. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that way anymore. Like I know a lot of people, you know, a lot of my friends are, you know, they already have jobs or they already are doing like kind of like living the adult life, so to speak. So there are times where that can be kind of problematic, because then like people get in my head and say things like, oh, like, you know, you haven't made it by now, you know, college is almost over, it's right around the corner, like, you know, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna stop creating. Like, just because I'm out of college doesn't mean I'm gonna like stop writing songs and just give in to the man, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works. I'm never gonna stop making music. Like, no one can take that away from you, you know, as long as you don't let them.
Living here is such a waste, always staying in my bed.
There's so many people around here that have so much talent. That inspires me to push myself as a musician all the time. You know, and I listen to a lot, so I'm constantly inspired by something else every day. Whether it be, you know, 60s and 70s R&B, or whether it's like I'm really into some math band like the next day, or if I'm into put on some Joni Mitchell or some Paul Simon, or if I'm into this, or, you know, I definitely like to think I have like a relatively eclectic taste of music, so like I'm constantly listening to new records and old ones and just like absorbing it. And I think like in terms of lyrical inspiration, I mean, like obviously like my partner is like huge, like he was a huge influence on this record. Past relationships are a huge influence on the Strawberry Blonde records, because like that's where the sadness comes from, and the disdain and their angst, you know. Reading poetry and stuff can really helps with like my syntax, and like I guess when it comes to approaching a song, like using different words, like my diction just improves and stuff, or just like thinking more outside of the box. So really it's just like a little bit of everything, just listening to a lot of music and also like reading a lot, and then playing and workshopping with other people and like hearing their opinions. It's great. I just think it's just everybody. Like honestly, any musician I ever played with has like inspired me in some way to just motivate myself to do something at all.
On your mind.